7 p.m. Good evening and welcome to the December 4th Budget Committee meeting. Tonight's agenda, we are reviewing and going over the fire department budget, and we have Vinny here to present it.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yes. Sorry Jared couldn't make it. He's away on a vacation. Believe it or not, we do have a life outside of work. So he did definitely work on this with me. We did it together, the one we submitted a few weeks ago. So he's very up to speed on projecting out the year and planning for the coming year and those type of things. So he has been involved in the whole process. Do you want to do personnel first? Do the easy one?
Let's do the personal one first.
All right. Okay. So personnel. If you want to start right at the top, per diem. If you look at the second page of the packet I gave you, that represents I actually did 2.75 because when we built the budget, we didn't know the final number, and apparently it's 2.8.
Okay.
So I played with it today. It changes like the minimum pay to like by like a penny or something per hour. So I didn't recalculate that whole second sheet. But if you look at that sheet explains the first line per diem. It's obviously the biggest cost that we have, our 24-hour coverage. Down the bottom, we get to the 459, 417. That's based on 17,520 hours. We budget 25% of that time, paramedic, 25% at advanced life support, so advanced EMT and paramedic, and then 50% of those hours are basic EMT. So we try to have ALS on 24 hours a day, whether it's an advanced EMT or a paramedic. So that's how we've done it. It's how I've done it the last 4 years. It's worked out. So we've never gone over budget. So those hourly rates are determined by the stuff up top. We do a base pay based on minimum wage, which we added the 2.75, and then all the other areas where the certifications or EMS license levels, they're all a percentage off of the base pay. So higher levels in rank and whatnot gets a higher pay rate, obviously. So that's how we average it out. We come up with the 459, 417. If you look, that doesn't match the line because I added $5,000 to that for, we do have occasionally have overtime over the course of the year. This year has been very good. We had very little. Definitely under $5,000, but I just figured build a small buffer there.
Yeah, he brought in new ones. I have the old one. We may need to make.
Should have been, yeah, it's like 7 copies there.
Oh. Haha. Let me give you this one, Susan. Sorry, I'm still looking at mine just because I have numbers plugged in. Okay.
All right, if anybody has a question, just holler. I get rambling because I get numbers flying through my head. And so if you got a question or a comment, just holler at me and I'll pause. Okay, so you good on per diem? Everybody's good how we got there?
Yep.
So yeah, the next line is the call force. That's the call firefighters that respond paid per call, minimum of 1 hour per call, and by the hour after that, actually the quarter hour after that. So this year we're projecting going over budget about $2,700. So we're looking for $53,000 next year, so that's a $3,000 increase. That's kind of a best guess every year. We've been doing a little more trainings. We got a few more people, so that means a few more people responding over the course of a year. So $53,000 is a very good deal for the town. We get a lot of people that show up at calls and handle emergencies in town. So small increase there. No hourly rate increases other than COLA for anybody. There's no, last couple of years we've had different increases for like EMS levels or fire training levels, just trying to bring everybody up. This is actually the first year since I've been here. The only pay raise, people are getting a COLA. We all, select board and you guys all said we're trying to tighten things up this year, keep the, the increases to a minimum, so we kept that in mind, we did our budget. So 53,000. The chief pay, that one's a significant increase, that's 93, it's going to 93,000 this year. The plan with that, I'm getting done the end of this year. Jared Welsh is the new fire chief January 1st. His contract is going to be up to 24 hours a week. And so this past year, Jared worked administrative hours because I cut my hours back because I just don't want to work so many hours a week. So I contemplated getting done, but the middle ground was find somebody else to work some hours. So Jared stepped up. He's been working 18 or 20 hours a week this year, which actually worked out well. We've kind of started that transition process for him to take over for me. So next year he's going to be doing up to 24 hours. We're going to fill the role he's doing now with the deputy chief, which he's currently a deputy chief. That will be up to 16 hours. So that's 40 hours total between the deputy chief and the chief. They're both paramedics, so it gives us 40 hours of a chief level officer in the station, and they're a paramedic. So it kind of, I know, Steve has been saying it for years, we want a 40-hour fire chief, so that helps that cause. When I gave the select board my notice, we contemplated, do we want a full-time chief? Do we want to keep the same model we have? Economically, the model we have is very wise. I think a chief, if we hired a full-time chief this year, it would probably be with benefits and pay $125,000 to $130,000. So this year alone, we're saving well over $30,000, keeping the model we have because there's no benefits. The fire chief and the deputy chief, which would be per diem, they don't get health insurance, they don't get retirement, they don't get dental insurance. So all those benefits cost money, obviously. So the last 4 years, just for a comparison, 22, 23, 24, and 25 budgets totaled for a chief pay $235,000. Had we done a full-time chief those years, it would have been closer to $470,000. So we've saved $235,000. I mean, it's guesstimates, but it's pretty close to real numbers. So we've saved a good amount of money with the current model. It's not going to last forever. I think Jared's taken over. If we can I did 4 years. If Jared does 4, we stay ahead of the game for another 4 years, and then we, cross that bridge later. So economically, it makes sense. The $93,000, that represents both of those guys' pay. So a bit of an increase there. Transition, an executive session, we talked about, not to speak out of church or out of session, making this changeover, and we put money in there to have a transition period, which I will do some hours for the first couple months to try to work with Jared to, make the transition as seamless as possible. So that's what that is. I don't want to go into detail because it's an executive session. I don't want to cross any lines. The holiday pay, that just went up the 2.75%. If you're not familiar with our holiday pay, the per diems they get paid for just about every holiday, which is time and a half. And then the premium holiday pay, we call it, is Thanksgiving and Christmas is actually double time because we struggled to fill those shifts. So we did it this year. The shifts were filled, and so that's that increase there. It's just the 2.75. And then the last two, the FICA Medicare, that's the built-in fee that everybody has to add to their budget, the 0.0735 or whatever it is of your overall. And I took out PTO because the select board has now put that into their budget. So that brings us to $600,066,800. So that represents a 3.3% increase. So like I said, nobody's getting above COLA. The increase is due to more hours in the deputy chief and chief area. Me and Jared this year I think we budgeted on 16 or 18 hours, somewhere in that range. So the increase comes with more time. So nobody's getting above the 2.8%. It should say ELP. It's earned paid leave, EPL. Yep, it was previously referred to as PTO, but, so that's now in the select board budget, I believe, yep. Questions on that?
Your increases, were they based on what you budgeted last year or the projected of what you're going to actually use this year?
Well, they were based on what the hourly pay is for everybody. So I didn't just take 2.8 and, multiply that by the 448,000. I didn't, yeah, I did it kind of overall. Took everybody's pay per hour, added the 2.75 technically, but call it 2.8, and that's how we got where we are, other than that 5,000 that I put for a buffer for overtime. So I know I didn't answer your question there, but I'm not trying to avoid it. I just did it off an hourly pay, and then, like that second sheet shows, it matches everybody out.
Right, well, and the reason I ask is because last year, the budgeted total from the green sheet was 644,500.
Yep.
But the actual usage is basically going to be $11,000 less.
Yes, yes.
Which makes I mean, that's a big buffer.
Yeah, and I feel like every year, we've never gone over, none of our budgets since I've been have gone over. Obviously we make our best guess, and every year there's variables. If we have, getting back to the average, if we have, our weekends tend to have less ALS, we're trying to work on that. But if we have more shifts that are basic EMT versus a paramedic, I mean, you're talking several dollars an hour. Let's see, a basic EMT is a stipend of $4.36, where a paramedic is $9.30, so it's almost a $5 difference per hour. So if we average it out to have the ALS half the time, but if we have a double EMT, we have two EMTs working, that happens, once a week, that kind of grows over the course of a year. So what we project is the highest what we think we would be at. So we can't really predict. We have, I think, 5 or 6 paramedics right now that work between me and Jared and per diems. I think we have 5 currently. So there may be a month where they don't work any shifts if they are on vacation in July or something. So we may have more basic EMTs, and when that employee costs $5 per hour less, there's a savings there, right? So, but we can't predict that. So I build it out as, the 4,380 hours for paramedic advance, and then the 8,760 for basic. So I feel like we have the worst case scenario that. I'd rather turn $11,000 back in at the end of the year than come asking the select board for $11,000 because we went, too conservative. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
So a question for the select board, is the chief and deputy chief going to be a separate warrant article like it was in the beginning? Or is it just going to stay in this?
I would assume that it will stay in this personnel budget like it has for the last couple of years.
And it's for part-time, for both of them?
Yes. Permanent, what's the new term? Permanent, part-time? Is that the new
Didn't-
part of the employee
Didn't the
manual?
town vote to have full-time, though?
That vote happened prior to me being even living in town, so I'm unsure of what that vote was. But, I mean,
Well, I'm just saying, what she's saying is originally it was 40-hour fire chief is what they voted on.
okay.
So,
At this salary range?
well,
wasn't it?
at whatever it was.
Originally, I believe it was 60,000,
60,000.
which
Well,
was
that's-
kind of a,
And that was at 40 hours.
Yeah, but and that's fine, that's changed, but what I'm saying is, should there be an article like there was, where the people voted, and you could approach it both ways. Do you want a full-time chief, and whatever that price is gonna be, or continue the way it's been going the last 2 years?
I personally think we need to continue the way it's been going. It's December 4th. Chief Pelletier has done the 31st at midnight. There's a new chief starting on the 1st. We don't have somebody who is going to be a full-time fire chief on the 1st. So therefore, in my mind, we have to keep it going the way it is. We talked about this in September, so if this was an issue, it should have been brought up prior. September 29th, we made the motion to appoint Jared as a part-time fire chief, and nobody has brought up an issue with that until right now. So I think
Well, it's not right,
the
it's
way
not right
it is.
now. The voters voted at one time for a full-time chief, it didn't work out, so that's fine. That's all I'm asking. The voters voted for a full-time chief. Do you think the voters ought to vote for a part-time chief or spend a little more money in a full-time chief? That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean who brought it up or whatever. It's just for clarity. A lot of people think we have a full-time chief. So, that's all. But that's a select board decision, that's nothing. But that is,
All right, any other questions?
no, the only other one I got, I beat it to death. You got the interior firefighters the same, we talked about it when you first started, and you said that just the basic guy can go inside, so he's the same as a fire 1 and 2, but I still say, what incentive somebody to go get their fire 1 and 2 as a higher classification can do more stuff? I still think it ought to have a little separation there, some incentive for somebody to want to go on to do their
Yep.
fire 1 and
Yep,
2. And I know you agreed with me, but I just,
that would be great, but this year I've put increases every year for different levels, and this year the first 3 years, the MTs got it, because we need to draw per diems. Like, it's a competitive market, there's not a lot of per diems, we all know that. We've gone up, I think a paramedic when I started was making $19 an hour, they're at 29 and almost, 28.86 right now, going to 29 the first of the year, so it's $10 increase just to draw, and honestly, we have 5 medics total, so I mean, it's still not drawing, the people, but, so we've made increases every year. This year we did not, because, there was talk of a 0% increase, and I was asked about that. Stephanie actually chatted with me one night in the parking lot walking in and said, could we do a 0% increase? And I said, in a normal year, we could probably really tighten the purse strings and do that. As far as operations, I mean, personnel, we're gonna do COLA, obviously, but I said with a new building, I don't think I can pull off 0%. We have a lot of unknown. We made our best guesses in a lot of areas, and, we got some right, and we didn't get them all right, but we're, so I couldn't commit to a 0%. But, so back to Steve's point, we did not do anything above and beyond COLA this year. It's the first year we have not done that, so
Okay,
it just is what it is.
all right. I don't have any more questions on that part of it. Shall we go on to the fun one?
The fun one, the longer one. Okay, operations. So I sent you an email yesterday to you guys and to Julie looking for some information. So back, I don't even know when we sent our initial projection. So just so everybody's clear, we chatted just before the meeting about, I left you guys updated spreadsheets with that. I redid the projections today to make sure that we're up to speed, for now. But I looked at them, I've looked at them previously, because we're always watching our expense sheets. We had a significant increase in one area, so I kind of had to, I asked for clarification. I didn't get that. I didn't get anything back today. So as I said in my email, I've got to build those numbers in, assume they're accurate until we dig in further and prove otherwise. So I built them all in. Doesn't paint as good of a picture as we painted the first submittal we gave you guys with our projections. So but I'll go through them all. So first area is training. We got 5 different lines there. There's really nothing significant in that area. Certifications, we went up. It seems like we've been getting a lot of people, and we've been putting those people through training, EMT training, basic fire. We had someone go to firefighter 1 and 2 this past year. We have another one going in January. We've been very lucky. The Alphon grants, the workplace development grants, pay 50% of that. The EMT classes, the basic ones have been free. We had 2 people go to advanced EMT. We had to pay 50% of that. The grant paid, so we've been taking advantage of the grants, but we're just getting a lot of people. And if people want to go to training, it's an investment in the department, investment in the community. So, you know, I like to be pretty liberal with training funds to get those certifications. And if we could apply the grants, it's worked out great. We've got a lot of people get certifications for not a lot of money. So just the, you know, kind of the COVID funding is still out there, I guess, right? So, but we did increase it some because I can't guarantee that funding, it's still in place now, but it may not be the end of this year. So small increase there.
Are there any stipulations when these guys go to get these certifications that they've got to stay with the department for X amount of
There is not.
months?
There is not. Yep. It's
We
not.
had problems with that in the past.
Yeah, you know, and it's everywhere. If we were paying for someone's paramedic school, we would definitely have to have, I mean, you're talking $10,000, right, for someone to go to. We're talking, you know, like the guy, so we had a newer guy come through, he went to basic EMT, that was free. Went to firefighter 1 and 2, that was just over $1,000. So we got about $500 into this new member. And new gear, we'd buy him new gear, obviously, but that would stay with us. But, so yeah, it's not a huge investment, but we also don't, I'm not gonna send someone to firefighter 1 and 2, I'll send them to basic fire school, which is sometimes $75 or $100. Gets them the minimum certification state of Maine requires to go in a fire. If they're here for a little bit and they're showing commitment and they're gonna be around, then we'll send them to firefighter 1 and 2. That's a 6-month program. So they're putting in a commitment too. They're 6 months of training. And if we had to pay the full boat, I think it's going to $1,250 this year. So it's a bigger, you know, commitment, but we don't currently have anything in place. But I mean, like I said, if someone came and approached us, we wouldn't, highly doubt we would pay for a paramedic program. It's a lot of money, but.
So, question, since you have been fire chief, has the town put anybody or paid for training where halfway through they went, yeah, I'm not doing it?
Yeah, we had one early on that started firefighter 1 and 2 that did not complete. And back then, I don't know what it cost, maybe around $500. Yeah, and we probably shouldn't have, we should, and I was new to the job, and a lot of places they go right to firefighter 1 and 2, but we're a smaller town and limited resources. We should have said, hey, go to basic fire school. And this particular member was still in high school. So we probably overwhelmed them a bit. We kind of jumped, there was a learning curve for me not to, you know, commit, let the people commit to us a little bit. So in the basic school, like I said, if they hang around and they're involved, they want to get an EMS license, they want to go to firefighter 1 and 2, then we'll invest in them. So yeah, early on we had one that didn't finish it. I think it was around $500 back then to go to. But other than that, I think, I don't,
We don't have any policy or anything on that.
we do not. We do not.
And most of the other fire departments around don't either. Newfield paid for me to go to fire 1 and 2. And I'm not saying I would, but I could have quit the day I got my certification. There was no expectation of me to stay there. Obviously I'm going to because I'm a good human being and they paid for my training. But Newfield is, I'd say, pretty similar, and there's no policy like that.
Yeah. Law enforcement does have that in place, but they send police officers to the academy, and I'm sure it's thousands of dollars. So, you know, Sanford sends somebody to the police academy, they pay X amount of dollars, that police officer leaves and goes to Westbrook. Westbrook has to reimburse Sanford. So they have that in place, but it's all full-time. They're not volunteer and call, and, you know, so it's a little trickier on our end, but.
We had that happen here a few years back. We had a paramedic, went to work with Scott. And he paid the full boat on it.
Yep. Yeah, I would say if you start
You should have
crossing.
a policy, there's no doubt about it.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just thinking more, and I know this is you guys' area, probably, along the lines of you know, the town will help pay for this. If they drop out, they have to reimburse those funds.
Yes.
That's
Kind of thing,
yeah.
having that
Yeah.
kind of policy in
Yep,
place.
yep, yep. That's fair.
Or
Yep.
it could be a situation, they go just so far with their dollar, and we reimburse them, rather than get to the end and find out that, I don't wanna do this anymore, we got $2,000 anymore.
Well, you could just have it if you fail out or quit, and
Yeah, no, there's
simple.
nothing wrong with having a policy that addresses both ends of it.
Yeah.
You know, if you leave, you might be subject to, a paying back a prorated portion. Or if you don't complete it, then you're, subject to full reimbursement or something. Like, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
I mean, that just kind of protects the town
Yep. Absolutely.
financially a little bit.
That's if they might have to, if they will have to.
you said might have to pay something back. He's saying they will pay back.
Well, you can write the policy. How's that sound? I won't be here for it. So. But I do think it's good. It's a good idea to have something in place.
Okay.
All right, we good there? And that's it on that line, that area. Supplies.
Wait, what about travel?
Oh, okay. So we budget $100. We don't really have any travel. We have a Turnpike Pass, that 124. Probably some mileage we had some people take a program that had some mileage attached to that, but it's generally our trans pass. If we go to a class or something, we don't have much in the area in the way of travel. It's mostly, I'm guessing, I don't know off the top of my head because I didn't really dig into it because it's such a small number, but we had a couple, where was the class that wasn't Bath?
ASM.
Yeah, yeah, and that was a couple day,
Two out of the three of us took the command vehicle, and I think one person went up on their own.
Yeah.
So that could have been
got a mile, so that alone is probably, 40 miles, so that's probably $80 right there.
57.
What's that?
57.
57?
Not that I
Somebody
did,
makes that drive often.
well, I did it Monday.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. So we don't generally have much, so I left it at $100.
Okay.
I'm thinking the last 2 years, we didn't even
Use it.
use any of it, so.
Okay. All right, supplies.
All right, supplies, miscellaneous, so we did get down on a few lines. Again, we were trying to stay within the 3.5% that, the select board put out. So we do have some lines that went down a bit, just to try to, meet that goal. So miscellaneous went down, postage, we don't have a ton. That was, I think it was at that amount when I started. I just left it. We don't really have much mailing stuff. We do bring it here, and Alicia stamps it and sends it out. Cleaning, we went up. That's due to a bigger building, so we use more cleaning supplies, obviously. And you will see as we go through these, there are increases based on the building. That's, which we anticipated. Office supplies, we went down because we didn't really touch that much. I think office supplies probably gets rolled into miscellaneous on occasion, or probably more than on occasion, but we kept it there. Propane, that's one we had to guess on. We didn't have much propane at the old fire station. We budgeted $14,000 last year. We're projecting out $12,300, but went to $15,000 for next year. I'm assuming there might be a propane. There's going to be an electricity increase. I'm assuming there's probably going to be a propane increase, just to cover our bet on that.
There's a major one right now.
What's that? On propane?
Is the propane, is that the whole building, all the heating system, or is this, I know it's, you've got the different zone out in the bays.
So there's 2 boilers in the basement, both propane. And then there's radiant floor heat any place. So with the firewall separations between living quarters and office space, the whole front section, that concrete floor is radiant floor heat. That's also heated by the boilers. And the cooling is all electric. So all the heat pumps and condensers, that kind of stuff is all electric. We don't have heating oil anymore. I think the line actually was listed as heating oil at one point. We don't have any heating oil.
So no more heating oil?
No heating oil, no, no.
Good question, Brian. When they hit that propane leak a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Why do we have an electric heater in that dispatch area?
Because it was probably an oversight. So the people that designed the system did radiant heat in the concrete areas. In a normal building, that would work fine, right? You're gonna heat a whole area to, say, 68 degrees. We don't heat the apparatus floor to 68 degrees. It's a huge, huge area. It's 75 by, at least 75 by 30 feet in the center. It's a humongous space to heat. If we heated that area to 68, it would be considerably more propane. So I think when they made their design, they just assumed, if it was this building, the heat's all come from the floor. Well, we keep the apparatus floor at 64 degrees. And that's a reasonable number for the apparatus. That office area is on the concrete, so we can raise the floor heat to 68, keep the employees comfortable, or we're working on having an electric baseboard installed. We're waiting for the town electrician to come by, give us a price on that, install a baseboard with a thermostat in that area. So there's an oversight on the design when the heating and ventilation people did their calculations. They didn't really factor that's a human inhabited space, not a garage bay, if that makes sense.
I thought originally that all those heat pumps were supposed to be heat and cooling.
I don't know that answer. We assumed that one was heating and cooling until last winter. Till last winter, yeah. And they had it on, I forget the temp, and I walked in and I felt cold air, and we're like, why don't you put it in heat mode? And we discovered there's not a heat mode. So,
And it very well there may be heat mode. At my apartment building, they both, the one in like the mechanical room up there, the IT room.
Yep.
That one's on cooling to keep all the IT equipment cool. At my apartment building, they both had to be on the same setting, either cooling or heating, for it to work. So if one of the IT rooms staying on cooling all year long, you're not gonna be able to have the one in the office on heat. That might be
if they're on the same condenser.
if
Are they on-
they're on the same condenser,
Yep.
because there is a heating mode on the
Yep.
remote, but.
No, the one in the IT room and that one are both, they have their own condenser and they're both cooling only. So they installed it,
Well,
we
no,
see it, we
they-
assume.
They had both, but if you got one cooling, you can't have one heating.
Right, there's two separate condensers.
I have the
They're
same thing. I
both-
got upstairs, downstairs, and you can't
Yep.
have one going one way, one the other.
So we're waiting on the, I don't know, he might have come by the other day when I wasn't there. Jared reached out to, was it Brian Goris, I believe his name, the town electrician. Have him come by, give us a price on, there's a power panel right upstairs in the IT room, they can drop a,
The reason why I brought it up is if you're thinking that way, why don't you also look into what that heat pump, if there's something that can be done?
we did, we went down that road already. It was about $6,000.
Well, they'd have to put another unit in.
Yep, they gotta put a new condenser
I don't
and
know if
new
the
head.
internal parts of that was.
Yep.
Just a unit that can be added to that, that's what I
Yep.
don't know.
No, they actually, our project manager, Patrick, reached out to the ventilation company and it would be a total change, so it was not cheap, because we kind of thought along the same lines. Can we just do whatever you can do to? It'll be significantly less than that. There's a sub panel right above that area. It's all drop seal, and they can drop that down the wall pretty easy, put a baseboard right along the exterior wall, and it'll be less than 6,000, I would have to imagine. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Stuff on heat. You're up to stuff on heat now? Get a baseboard.
I have baseboard.
All right, so that's propane. Diesel, we actually went down a little bit. We're projecting, we budgeted 13,000, projecting about 10,800, so we stayed at 12,000 on that, so a small decrease there. Small decrease in uniforms. We had gone up to 6,000. Just one of those years, a lot of people aren't requesting things, so we're probably gonna spend about 5,000 this year, and so we went to 4,500. Should cover what we need. Medical supplies, that one is somewhat of an anomaly. 13,000, we were actually at 15,000 in the past. We dropped that last year because we weren't spending the money. Utilized it someplace else, but we have an ongoing dispute, for lack of a better term, with our oxygen supplier. There was what I'm told by the local company is there was a miscoding. So we lease our oxygen bottles for the year. They had us under a rental, which is quite a bit higher per month. So we had a couple big bills and started asking about it. They made the correction. It's been corrected, but we're looking to get, I would say probably $3,000 reimbursed. But the current weight is on corporate, which is in New Jersey. We deal with a company out of South Portland. The local guy credited 1 month. That's all he has the authority to do. So he sent it up the chain to corporate. So we're working through that, but unfortunately it's still sitting there. So we're looking at probably $20,000. So when I projected out, we'd spent 18. I think we submitted something this week for, and I don't have it in front of me, but an $800 bill from Boundtree, which is our medical supply. We buy Band-Aids and IV supplies and cardiac electrodes and all that stuff. So, but we'll see how that plays out, but I projected it out as is. But should be straightened out for next year. We'll be at 15,000, and if it doesn't get straightened out, we already have quotes and a plan in place to get a new vendor. So, which works for me, because I'm not happy with, this has been going on for a few months, trying to work through this, so.
Very much choice, though.
Yep, we'll figure it out. Well, we got one other choice that
Yeah.
we'll work with them. So that's supplies. Questions on that? Okay, equipment.
So the medical is just for your oxygen, whatever, what you just mentioned?
Oxygen, IV catheters, cardiac electrodes, Band-Aids, splints, everything the ambulance uses. Yep.
The reason it's over is because of the oxygen.
The oxygen is the issue, the reason why, yeah, we're over quite a bit. Okay, equipment's the next area. Equipment. We don't really utilize that line a ton. It was in there when I took over. We did charge $100 to it. I, off the top of my head, don't even know what that was for. Office supplies, or office furnishings, we put $300. We just got a brand new building, so we did not spend any money out of that line this year. Furnishings is if you've noticed, there's a couple in this spreadsheet I highlighted yellow. Those are ones that jump out. So furnishings, $10,073 was posted to the 11-7 line furnishings. If you look to the budgeted amount, it is 0. We didn't have a 07 line. This started last year, and I believe I sent an email out a while ago. I don't know who was on the committee then. So in 2022, when the voters approved the fire station project, they approved the 4.756 for the building, for the construction. And the select board at the time also included $100,000 for a contingency fund in case we ran over. And they approved $125,000 for furnishings for the building. The downfall, if you see me speak at meetings, I've brought up a few times, those accounts were never established. It's back, Laura was still here, I believe. So the project, stayed on budget. We finished exactly on budget. The $100,000 that was approved for contingency was not utilized at all. We were right on budget. The $125,000 in furnishings, we submitted those furnishing bills and listed them because we didn't have an account number. We never received an account number. Listed them under building construction furnishings. Last year, there was about $75,000 charged. This line was created last year. We never had a furnishings line. It just showed up in our expense sheet. So I'm assuming the treasurer created it for a place to park those until whether it's the auditors or whoever's trying to straighten out the books, found the account number for the $125,000. So once again, this year we spent $10,000, $10,073 furnishings, which we're done now. This is going to be a non-issue after this year.
What does furnishings include?
Everything we put in, TVs, desks, chairs, monitors, beds, bureaus, kitchen table, appliances, the appliances for the building, anything not attached to the building itself, I guess is probably the easiest way to put it. So this year we added 10,000 to that. And if you watched the meeting a few weeks back, we were talking about the rework we had done on the retention pond. The select board's going to pay that out of the town contingency because we are absorbing that 10 grand out of our operations, which at the time when we were going to absorb both, and then we were in our numbers, we're getting a little tight. So we, asked the board to take out of their contingency, which they did. We're absorbing the 10 back when we projected this. It was a great plan, but it hurts a little more as we go forward on some other items that have kind of jumped in. So we are absorbing it. The plan was it's part of the fire station. If we can support it out of our budget, we're going to support it. But there's definitely other areas that I'll talk about that we cut way back. And some money we didn't spend that we normally spend every year, and it is what it is. We'll catch up next year. So that's the furnishings thing. When we get to the bottom line, it'll have an effect there. So radios is next, 3,500. That's one of the lines that we only spent 1,800. So we're not buying as many new radios as we, probably would have, if we didn't have other items in our budget that we need to cut back on.
How long does those radios last?
Got a 10-year lifespan. I mean, depending on how much,
For the most part.
they're getting beat. I would say they have to have a 10-year life.
Or something.
So this 3,500 you're asking for, you're anticipating more people coming in?
No, well, yes and no. So we're replacing some, because we do have a lot of older ones. But yes, we are adding some. We had a member in today that is relatively new and has been, he's got his driver certification and his pump operator certification. So, he's kind of said, he'd like to have a radio. He's going to respond to a call. It'd be nice to tell somebody, hey, he's coming from home or whatever it is. So yes, we've added people and we're replacing some of that older and a little more beat up. So they're probably, the setup we get is about $600 to $700 per radio, which is pretty good in the big realm of what radios go for. You can spend thousands of dollars. So the ones we get are pretty reasonable. We've been getting about 6 a year since I've been here.
Just one vendor would deal with it, or we go out to, I don't say to bid, but are we going out and looking to get the best deal?
Yep. The dealer we use is the dealer they've been using, and his prices are definitely better than, it's not a high-end radio. I mean, Motorola is the top-notch radio out there. Everybody knows that. We don't use Motorola's. We use on the scale of higher end, we're on the lower end. But they do a good job. They're fine. I can hear my radio if I'm working in Saco and there's a call in Limerick. I can listen to the call 30 miles away. So they do the job, and they're economical. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Fire equipment. So these are all equipment lines, obviously. Fire equipment, we had 7,500 budgeted. We're only going to spend 42. We did have a few items we were looking to purchase, but we're not going to purchase those because we're trying to stay within budget. Medical is the same, medical equipment. We've only spent 2,200. We've decided we're not going to purchase anything else this year other than grant-funded items. We're getting 2 new video laryngoscopes. Those will come out of our EMS grant. So we're holding that line where it is. And protective gear, we budgeted 12,000. We only bought 1 set this year because we bought quite a bit of gear in the last 3 years, probably close to $100,000, I'm guessing, with some of that, 26,000 of that being ARPA money, the rest being budgeted. So we're in good shape. When I first took over, we were very much hurting for gear that was within certification, a 10-year lifespan. So we've made good strides. I think going forward, we're going to look to buy probably 2 sets a year, and that hopefully keeps us on track down, in the future to keep everybody in good gear. So we don't have one year where we're spending $40,000 and next year we're spending $5. I don't know. Try to keep a straight line instead of the peaks and valleys. So
So what's the life expectancy of the equipment?
10 years. 10 years of fire. Well, by NFPA, they recommend 10 years. Now, if you work in Boston or New York City, you're not getting 10 years, right? You're probably getting 5 years, and if you work in a little bit busier place, you're getting 7 or 8 years. I mean, here, recommendation is 10. We try to, like anything else NFPA, we try to follow those recommendations, but very few places follow every single recommendation, because our budget would be quite a bit more if we, tried to meet every standard. We'd have full-time people working there to meet the time restraints, that kind of stuff. So 10 years is recommended. If, we extend that a year or two, I mean, we're not a lot of fires in Limerick, couple times a year, people's gear is, totally, getting used and exposed to heat and that kind of stuff. So, but 10 years is the standard, to answer the question.
So everybody that's on the department right now is outfitted?
Everybody that's interior certified has gear within spec and will continue working to get the rest. So we have, if you look at our roster, we call, support personnel. People that, they don't stretch a hose going to a burning building, but they work in town, their phone goes off or their radio goes off, they're, dropping their shovel and going to the fire station, getting a fire truck, bringing it to the scene. They don't need interior gear. With a lot of those people. So the people that are gonna show up and that need to go in a building to put out a fire or get someone out of the building, all of our interior people have gear that is within certification, within compliance, I should say. And it's expensive. I mean, it's $6,000 between, we try to fully outfit from boots, pants, coat, gloves, helmet, hood, the whole ensemble. So they have everything they need.
The reason I ask is because I know years back, some of the broken record in that aspect of it, but we had some people that fall into the battle for a short period of time, we bought them all this equipment, and they don't show up in fires.
Yep, and that's the risk sometimes. You make the investment, you put in the training, you buy them gear, and then they get a new job, they move out of state, and it never seems to work out. We get somebody new, we take them down the basement, we have piles of stuff, some of it's out of compliance, so if we get someone that's, a younger that's not certified yet, we'll give them that gear. It might be 15 years old, we have piles of that stuff. We have some that's within date, but it never seems to fit the new person. They're too short or too tall or whatever, and so eventually we end up ordering. They're gonna hang out, we get them. Everybody, I'm pretty sure everybody we've gotten gear for since I've been here is still with us. So. Okay, so that's protective gear. So that's equipment. Any questions on equipment? Okay, repair and maintenance is our next one. Repair of equipment, that's a miscellaneous kind of category. Ladder test, hose test, pump test, that's an annual, that's another NFPA requirement. Need to test that stuff every year. Pretty much predictable prices there. We put a small increase because they will probably have a small increase. Stretchers and stair chairs, those are contract. We signed a contract with a company that comes in and does all the stretchers and stairs, lubricates, maintains and makes sure they're good to go, repairs anything that needs to be repaired. That's kind of a standard fee. Dry hydrants, that was added in. We thought it was capital, but it got put into this, so we did not touch that. So we'll probably just look to put that back in next year, but put it in a capital. That should be a capital.
It's supposed to be capital.
It should be a capital, yes. So that way, if we don't spend it all, we can carry it to the next year and eventually. No, we don't have a, they're in our, so if you look at on our phones, we call first due, pre-plan. That's how we get our notifications of a call, that's how we do our documentation for the national reporting. There's maps in there. You go into a call and you see the address, you can zoom in, you can see the fire hydrants, pressurized hydrants, the dry hydrants, but we don't have I'm sure there's a list someplace, a paper list, but we utilize our software.
The reason I asked that is, I was told that the hydrant in my pond at the golf course did not work.
Last time I was there at that hydrant,
Tim was down there one night teaching another fellow how to run the pump.
Yep.
He was blowing water hose to the back.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I know that one works.
yeah, that one's not a big deal because we can drop the hose right in the water. It's the other end of Burnham Road is more of a concern because it's so far down, it's pretty labor intensive to get a hose down there, but your pond, it's right there. It's convenient to have the hydrant, it's easier to screw onto that, but, if winter time, we'd probably, we'd have to cut a hole through the ice, but we've done it before, so.
Now, are all those, I know this is getting off the subject a little bit, but are all those dry hydrants supposed to be shoveled out all the time?
They should be kept clear, yep.
I haven't done it yet, but I know on my pond, I usually, I'll run the whole side of it.
Yep.
But it's not anyway.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll look to get that back in capital. So if we don't, if we spend $5,000, we got the other 5 sitting in our capital, carry over year after year, and once we get them all where they need to be, we don't have to ask for that money going forward. So we'll address that in the March vote. We'll make sure we get a question for that. I don't think we have any other items in March. We have no items from fire department in March that I can think of. That'll be the only capital.
This is the new
Right, but I mean, outside of the budgets, separate warrant questions, we won't have any, we have no other financial requests. We're not doing, we talked about SCBA before, we're not doing SCBA, we'll wait on that. And we have no other vehicle stuff. The ambulance has been approved, so we're,
Which brings up a point, say those CBAs, do we have a quote-unquote sinking fund for those?
do we have a what fund?
A sinking fund that way you put X amount of dollars in every year?
That's what we've,
It's like a savings account.
that's what we've been doing. So we established a capital account, maybe my first year or second year here, so 21 or 22. We've been trying to do 30,000 every time we ask. So once a year, we try to get 30,000, with the plan being when they are no longer meeting compliance, we can replace them. But we spent 33,000 out of that already. So the air cylinders, kind of a hokey thing, it's an NFPA. The air cylinders have to be replaced after 15 years. The SCBA are good for 4 standard cycles, which can be 16 years, it could be 20 years, depending when the NFPA updates the standard. So currently, our bottle's expired. They have a date, they can only be hydrostatic tested so many times. We replaced those, it cost $33,000. So we depleted that fund. Then we went through that phase where the budget committee did not like where the funding was coming from, I believe, right? It was coming from undesignated or was not, or whatever the case was, the budget committee voted, they recommended a no vote, so the voters did not vote for it. So I think we had 2 vote cycles, like a November and a March maybe, that we asked for the 30,000, we didn't get it. And because of where the funding was coming from, the budget committee was not against us building a fund to replace the equipment, and I don't think the voters were either. It was just a matter of where the money was coming from. So in November, we got 30,000 again, so we're back at 30,000. The bottles have been replaced. They're good for 15 years. The harnesses and the regulators, that stuff's, the NFPA just released the latest standard, so in the next 3 to 4 years, we are gonna have to replace those. It'll probably be about $100,000.
But the point I was making is, if we know that, say in 10 years, we've got to spend this money, we could put in $3,000 a year, something on the line item, then build up basically create a savings account for
Yeah,
that.
so capital reserve account, that's what we're doing.
We asked the voters for $30,000 at a whack. We built it up.
That's what's happening now.
Yeah, I mean,
We used to
capital
do-
reserve account.
We used to do the same thing with fire trucks.
Well, it's happening now over a 3-year period. He's trying to say if every year you put
Yeah.
it for 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do the math, if we could have predicted 10 years ago it was $100,000, yeah, we could,
Yeah.
you know, put 10,000, but we're at,
Palatable to the voters.
Yep.
If they're saying I'm putting in 3,000 every year, as opposed to say, oh, I'm gonna have to put 15.
Yep.
In a particular year. Let's spread it out, and it's gonna be
Yep.
less of a burden on the taxpayer.
A continuous every year.
Okay?
Yep.
Just put a little bit in here and there, so we don't have a big ticket item coming out.
yeah, I mean, you know, obviously someone would have thought of that a while ago, right? But the last standard change was 2018, and we know it was like a 3 to 5 year cycle when they change it, so I made it around 22, 23. I don't know why this one just was longer, it just came out. So when they come out with the next one, which could be, you know, 2027, our air packs are obsolete. Cylinders are still good, we just gotta buy the harness and the regulators, and that's probably by today's money, $4,500 per pack, and we'll be buying somewhere between 12 and 15. So it's ballpark, 100 grand.
Do we still have a fill-in,
The fill station?
for the
Yeah,
tanks?
Yeah.
fill station.
Yeah, as long as that is in compliance, we'll continue to use it. A lot of places will, when they replace their packs, because of NFPA requirements, they'll make them replace their compressors. So our compressors in the basement, our fill stations on the app floor, in a room off the app floor. So we still use that if we can keep using it. I mean, you know, as long as the pressures don't, you know, require not higher than that compressor can build, if we can use it, we'll use it. I mean, the compressor itself is probably, or fill situation is probably $75,000. So it's a,
You bring the one over from the old?
Yep. yeah, we moved it over.
Yeah, because that was fairly new.
Yep.
That's what I asked.
Yep, and it works fine. We do the maintenance on it and the air quality annual test that's required, and if we can use it, we'll use it. I'm sure at some point it'll be replaced, but.
Not yet.
Okay, vehicle is the next one. This one is a tough one. Every year, we make our best guess. Last year, we had some major expenses that we ended up absorbing out of other lines. That's the beauty of, I mean, it's nice to have a line budget for planning and projecting and keeping track of stuff, but sometimes we cross the lines because that's how we stay afloat. And at the end of the year, if we're under budget, I guess we call it a win. Last year, I don't remember what 2024 was, but it was less than 15. That was a decent increase. So yeah, because last year hurt a bit, so we went up on that one. I don't remember the number. I want to say it was 12 grand. We upped it by 3,000. This year projecting 19.5. 4 grand of that. Let's see, I had some notes on that one, I think. Yeah, so our tank truck is 25 years old, and the tires need to be replaced based on the age of the tires. The place that was doing the sticker, again, NFPA recommends 12 years. Commercial trucks, they don't really hold them to that, I'm hearing, so maybe Steve knows that answer, but, so we replaced 6 tires, on the tank truck, keep that in service. That was, I don't remember the bill off the top of my head, but it was over $4,000. So that one, take those tires out, we probably would stay in budget on that one. Next year, we're anticipating 2 of our engines needing tires as well. One of them for wear, one of them because they're starting to approach the age situation. So we're up to 20,000 on that. It's just, you know, vehicle repairs are expensive. We can't predict them. Last year, we spent $18,000 on the ambulance that we just got approved to replace. I mean, you don't plan on an $18,000 repair, you know, so. This year, we were doing pretty well on that line, and I think Jared jinxed us. He made a comment a few months ago, hey, we're holding on this year, and then we had the tire situation for inspection stickers, so.
He hasn't signed the contract, has he?
Yeah, So, yeah, so it is what it is. Vehicles are expensive to keep up. I mean, it's just the cost of doing business, so
So do you have a maintenance list as far as what we've got existing, like this tire situation? And saying, okay, such and such a point, for budget purposes, say engine 1 or engine 5, whatever.
Yep.
Has to be replaced?
the whole vehicle,
No, no.
maintenance.
As far as
just for maintenance.
maintenance on that, so that you can budget, so we don't give it, oh, by the way, I gotta buy 6 tires and I don't have it in my budget.
Yep.
Like,
No, we don't have we have a plan for a full replacement of ambulances and fire trucks, obviously, but not wearable items. We do, like last year, we did a half-life maintenance on engine 2 pump, and went through, rebuilt some valves, checked the pump, tighten up things they needed to tighten up. We were gonna do engine 3 this year. The vendor we use had some issues with manpower and an injury and another guy out on maternity leave, so we held it off, and now we've had these other things arise, so we'll put that off till the beginning of next year. We'll send engine 3 over to have a pump maintenance, they should do every, few years to make sure things are not leaking by, but no, we don't have a list that this one's gonna,
It doesn't make any difference whether it's a truck or something else, if there's a maintenance schedule. Our buildings, for instance, we've got all things have a certain lifespan.
Yep.
And we don't need just, oh, by the way, I got a $20,000
Yep.
for this, and we said, well, we knew that 3 years ago, that was coming out. We need to build funds so we don't get that big bang to the taxpayer.
Yep. No, I'm not a mechanic. This tire thing surprised me. I did not anticipate, we do our annual oil changes and, all the other maintenance stuff we do every year. But I didn't anticipate we were gonna have to spend $4,000 on 6 tires, so just one of those things. But we're planning for next year, so.
I think what he's saying is you can take, say engine 2, just for the sake of it, have a computer thing on it, just on that.
I'll have Jared put it on his list.
Well, no, somebody go with
Yeah,
a
no, I
computer
mean,
can do that, and you
it's-
can say, all right, that,
Fleet manager should.
Yes, the fleet manager. No, I mean, with anything, right, we need to have,
who the hell's a fleet manager?
Tim, we have a.
Oh, okay,
captain.
well, I'm saying, if somebody could do a computer in every truck, then you know when it's ready for service, whatever, the tire.
Yep.
That's an NFPA that's just emergency vehicles, is their thing,
Yep.
So, all right.
yeah, I mean, it's part of planning. It's part of planning, and we try to plan for everything. Where are we at? Next one, highlighted, buildings and grounds. So this was a small line in the past. I think it was like the $2,000 range. We had the old station that was, now the
Nothing.
furnace, blower motor had to be replaced, or, whatever minor maintenance stuff. When we moved into the new building, we increased that quite a bit, and the goal was to try to cover unknowns, like elevator contract, maintenance contract, elevator inspection, fire alarm inspections, fire alarm itself, sprinkler system, all that, all these systems that we didn't have before. And maybe overages in propane and electricity. We really, so when we did our budget, we stayed within, the percent we thought was reasonable, and we threw some of the money there. So we budgeted 7,000. I am projecting we're gonna spend 16,650. So some of the items that covers, like I said, the elevator. We were looking the other day, there's a couple of contracts, one of them is $3,600. One of them is like $1,200, different levels of service, so we, pretty big expense. Sprinkler, can be over $1,000. Fire alarms was $720 this year, it'll probably go up. Digital Sky is a company that does all of our computer and electronic stuff, so our keypads, security cameras, computer stuff, sound system, they monitor all that. We have a maintenance contract with them. So that stuff is built into that line. One of the items, and I put it in the email, emailed the treasurer about this one. We had charge of $6,870. That's when we had a garage door damage. We had that repaired. To prevent future door strikes, we put in additional sensors that cover probably this high, probably 3 or 4 feet off the floor, because the bumpers of the trucks don't hit the normal sensors you have in your home, neither do the back of the trucks. That's how the first door strike happened. The truck wasn't fully out, but the tires were beyond the sensors. There's still 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet of fire truck came down on the truck. And then we put in traffic lights, a red and green light at each door. And the policy is, they don't drive out of the bay unless they get a green light. Green light indicates the door is fully open. So we did all those changes, did the repair and did the changes, $6,870. If you got that email I sent, that's been double posted to our budget, so I'm waiting to hear back from Julie on that one. I'm hoping that gets credited back. That'll keep us afloat for the rest of the year.
That was paid twice.
So that's that line. There's unanticipated costs. The Digital Sky, that one is one of the big ones. That's $3,800. When we first moved into the building, Digital Sky was doing the service. They monitor computers, they update software and virus stuff, computer stuff. We got a bill from them for $3,800, and we didn't, we kind of went back and forth. We actually had a meeting with them, it was about 6 months ago. We negotiated with, it was actually the owner of the company and his chief financial officer, and kind of told them, we never signed a contract with you to do this service. It came as part of their install in the project, which also was very expensive. It was after the fact thing. But, so we came to an agreement. We got a reduced rate. We actually cut the bill by 50%, and then we had to pay it for this year. We paid full price for this year, the $3,800. So, that elevator, sprinkler, all that stuff was kind of stuff we, didn't fully anticipate with a new building, which we knew last year. We said this, we're gonna make our best guess, and hopefully it works out, and we actually, in my opinion, did pretty well. But, so that line, I'm gonna bump up to 15 to cover all of that stuff.
Now, have those bills been paid yet?
Yep. Well, the 3,800 went in this week.
Okay.
So it's part of the projection, though. I added that in. I took this week's bills. They're not on, so the expense sheet you're looking at didn't have this Monday's bills, but these projections do have them all. Does that make sense? I added them in above what the expense sheet showed. I'm trying to get it as accurate as possible.
But you think that 6,800 is gonna get credited back?
Yes, the other
That was
6,800, yeah, so that
double
should,
paid.
yeah. So that should make that number a better number.
Was one of them insurance? Did we do an insurance?
The
thing?
first door strike was insurance.
Okay. So that's-
And then the just repair piece of the second one was not worth the,
Right, and premium.
not the
Yeah,
premium,
that's fine.
the
Deductible.
deductible, yes. So the money comes from the work they did, the lights and the sensors and all that stuff. That's the cost. All right, questions on that one? That one's a big one.
One question. Is the fire station the only town building that's separate? Because doesn't all the rest of these buildings come under one article?
As far as just,
Maintenance and everything else?
No, I think last year we separated the buildings by building.
They
The
were,
Moore Building, the Boyd Grange Hall, Bricktown Hall.
But did it come all under one thing, or is it all separate?
no, it was all separate.
Okay,
Did what,
okay. Huh?
The maintenance?
Budget?
the other one,
One line, or they're listed all separate?
Does that include utilities too? So do you get an oil bill for here, an oil bill for Bricktown Hall, an oil bill for the Boy Scout buildings? That you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always had our own under the main,
Well, I
and
understand,
utilities.
Yeah, each one is separate with repairs and maintenance, utilities,
Okay.
all of it.
Building ground, that's why we had to have the special town meeting to move money earlier this year for tree removal.
Yep.
did you do?
And I think, no, and that was why we ended up having the special town meeting after the vote last year, because too much was grouped together.
Right.
As far as the,
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to figure out, doing stuff here, and we're looking at changing that.
So, different vendors did different parts of the project. So, like the radio company did the radios, and like Digital Sky ran all the wires for the speakers and installed the speakers, but they didn't do the radio. So they had to interface. All these people had to interface together, and so Modem Waves did the actual. So like Digital Sky ran all the computer jacks and all the TV jacks and all that. Modem Waves installed all the computers, actually installed the computers plugged into their jack. So they all had their piece of the pie, you know, and they all had to interface. It was, technology is challenging, but they got it figured
That
out,
was
so.
only during the construction process, so as far as now we're up and operating.
Yep.
Just one company.
If we, I believe we're still Modem Waves, so if my computer dies tomorrow, I am under the impression I would email Modem Waves and order a computer.
Modern Waste does not do cabling.
That's what you just said.
Yep, Digital Sky did all cabling, speakers, cameras, keypads, that was their part. They actually set up there's a rack in our IT room with all the technology stuff, but they did a lot of that, so. Okay, good.
Yep.
Next one. So memberships and dues, the only item there was the 220. Originally, that's Jared and I both are membership to the Maine Fire Chiefs Association. It's at $330 because Jared just paid his for next year. I'm not subscribing, obviously. I'm not going to be a fire chief January 1st. So that's the only change really in those lines. Books and magazines, we have one subscription. We get a fire rescue magazine or newspaper, I guess it is. You probably read it, right?
Every shift?
So smaller lines. Next one is utilities. This is one, obviously, with some challenges with the new building, made our best guesses. Electricity, we budgeted $12,500. We've spent $15,709. I'm projecting $16,500 by the end of the year. So I built in $17,500 next year. One question I do have, I'll have to ask Julie about, if you skip down to 30-40 under professional and Hozak Tower, the only thing we pay out of that line is the electricity at Hozak Tower for our repeater up there. If you notice that $3,500 was budgeted, that was based on actual numbers from the previous years, and it's only been posted, only $535 has been posted against that account. So I'm questioning if that CMP bill has got intermingled with the regular CMP bill. If that's the case, we'd be closer to $13,500, which keeps us more in line where we should be, but I'll have to dig into that one. I don't see utility bills. I don't see CMP bills. Those come here. I don't ever see them. I just see what shows up in my expense report. I don't see those bills, so.
Rate is the fire station rate the same as anyone looked at it, see if same rate as all the rest of us? If we had the deal we had signed with CMP, I just wonder where it's new if
I'm
it,
pretty sure, but I can check.
well, I'm just saying where it's new if it got overlooked at a higher rate than what the rest of the stuff is.
Could be.
All right.
So that one's, yeah, so we added 17,500. If I learned something new about the Hozak, maybe the Hozak bills being applied to that, it'll be the same amount of money at the end of the day. It'll just get plugged in different places, you know, accounting things, so. Sewer, that went up quite a bit, based on the new building, I'm assuming. I don't remember even paying a sewer bill in the old station or a water bill. I think we just kind of got a wash on that one from the water district maybe, but maybe we're in a bigger building now. We have gotten bills. We've spent $600 so far, or we project $600 this year on that. Telephone and cable, this one's a big one. This one we just became aware of recently. That was the biggest item in the email that I sent yesterday looking for more information. That one caught us off guard. We were at $3,800. when we projected out the original projections we sent you, which you have in front of you, I think we were at $3,800, or we were projecting $3,800. I don't remember which it was. There was 3 postings on October 23rd that totaled $20,000. So in 1023, there's 3 separate postings that equaled $20,548.20. We had projected out prior to that 3,800. So that's a pretty big difference. And I don't know the reason. I spoke to Alicia. She mentioned all the phone bills come here. And somebody recently broke them out. And she wasn't sure how we got, how ours got to that point. I asked Julie about that. I haven't heard back on that one. Like, I'm definitely looking forward to an answer on that one to figure out. I believe Alicia told me that over the whole bill for the town was about $2,000. So how we got to $24,000 kind of concerning. I don't know if we got the whole thing or something's miscoded someplace. I don't know. I haven't got an answer, but I'll dig into that. But I use the data available to do these numbers, so they won't get worse. Hopefully they'll get better.
Do we have any cable, Brady, is there cable boxes? Are we paying extra for
No.
cable?
We don't have our Spectrum is free.
So the select person.
We don't pay,
I don't know if we have cable, I mean,
No,
We
no,
don't-
I'm just
we don't-
saying, is there?
we don't pay a Spectrum bill. The only bill we have is our telephones
Right,
and our internet. So we do have an internet bill with Spectrum.
looking at the warrant right now, I mean, the October 20th warrant, there was a $75 phone bill for the town, for the fire
Yeah.
department.
When we picked our plan, we had, a variety of plans. We rent our phones, we have our internet, we have a, fiber optic line going into the station, so that costs a little more. Phone rental, and then the internet itself, which is they were $1,000 and down to $400. We had to pick a plan, and I'm pretty certain we were around $720 a month was gonna be our, so we'd have the high-speed internet and all that stuff, all the stuff for our computers.
well,
and-
that's what I'm saying, if it's.
So I don't know how, I budgeted 7,500. If you divide that by 12, I did the math earlier, I wanna say it's like 650-ish. So I don't know how we got to 24 currently, and I'm assuming we get another bill for November coming up. So 25.8 is what I'm projecting, which is an astronomical number based on a $7,500.
But you don't see the bill.
Can we try
I
to
don't see the
figure
bills.
out what's going, because I don't want to,
That's,
I look at that and go, okay, now we're budgeting 25,000.
Yep.
yeah, so you,
Yeah,
I would
I mean,
rather have
I-
that number.
If you saw my email, I emailed Julie, to me, that raises a
Yeah.
red flag, and phone call would have been nice, but hey, to the shock and awe, picking up in an expense report, hey, this is really big, let's talk about it, like what changed? Maybe, maybe someone else, our bills have been charged to somebody else's budget, I don't know. But I can't,
yeah, we'll have to get a breakdown, because there's gotta be.
Yeah.
$78,000 though? I mean,
yeah, it's significant, yeah, it changes our bottom line, I mean, it really does, but, and I projected out 25,000, which also, I mean, our overall budget, when me and Jared did this the first time, the first round we gave you guys, we were at about a 4.25% increase in operations. And this one here is now 10%. So we've gone up 6%. Primarily, I mean,
Well, we
the
got a few-
repair and, a couple of the other items we talked about have gone up, but that one's the big one. It's,
well,
bumped
got a
our-
few-
we have
got a few weeks to
$200,000
figure
budget.
out where it's going.
yeah, and we got a $200,000 budget, 25 grand, bumps it up percentage-wise pretty quick. So we'll dig into it, but like I had said in the email, I've got to use the data that's available to me, and that's what I projected out. So,
Why are we renting telephones?
I got to think back to when I think purchasing them was an outrageous number, but I don't know for sure.
Those phone models are $450 a piece.
Yeah. The rental part is pretty cheap, like, not cheap, but it's reasonable. It's the,
We had I just did the exact same upgrade what we have at the fire department at my day job, and to rent them, it was like
They're like $8 a month,
Yeah,
right, or
like,
something?
it was like, I wanna say it was like $6.99 to rent them, or $450 to purchase them, and with the amount of phones, I mean, you have one in the bedroom upstairs, two in the washroom, each office has two.
Yeah, there was some
kitchen.
other advantage too, some other finding, I don't know if you got a better rate on your service, I don't remember off the top of my head, this is stuff we did when we
Upgrades,
were
repairs.
moving in a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. But it was the best way, it was the most economical way to go. And I don't 100% remember the details, I can dig out that paperwork and figure it out, but it was definitely, because we have probably 6 phones, and then we have 2 cordless phones that the staffing is supposed to keep on them. So we pay rental on all those. I mean, it was a better deal. I don't remember the details off the top of my head, but it was definitely more economically sound to do it that way. But yeah, I will dig into that. Like I said, I'm going to use the numbers I'm provided because that's what I'm provided. But I will get with Julie hopefully tomorrow and try to figure out, I'm hoping we're paying somebody else's bill, essentially. And
Yeah.
if that's our bill, then we'll have to look into that and find maybe definitely a different option, telephone and cable and internet and all that for 25 grand. That's a big chunk of money to, we have to have phones, obviously, we have to have internet to do our business, but we can find a better option.
Yep.
So I'll follow up with that one. But it does affect the bottom line. The ones I highlighted in yellow, those are the ones that are affecting the bottom line. Cellular, that's pretty standard. We basically have cell phone service for the ambulances so they can communicate with electronically through their cardiac monitors and our iPads. And then myself and Jared both have town phones. Fire alarm, that's pretty standard. That was a new one added last year. We didn't have a fire alarm in the old building, so it's with $720 this year, bumped it up to $800 based on a suspected increase. Advertising, we don't do much of that, so we dropped that down to $100. Dispatch, $34,000. It was $32,220 this year. So we had a guaranteed price of dispatch for so many years that expired last year. And there's a percentage base that goes up every year until we either stay with the percentage, it's a small percentage, or we go back and negotiate a set rate for so many years kind of thing. But 34,000 is pretty reasonable. There's other places that are double that. So service we get from Sanford Regional Communications and what we pay, it's a good value there. Medical director, state mandated by Maine EMS, we have to have a medical director. That was new 2 years ago. We had a doctor, unfortunately, he passed away this past year. And he was a pretty good deal at $2,250. We're looking at $4,000 for next year. This current medical director we're using, she's going to provide a ton of service for us. The previous one did a bunch of quality assurance, quality improvement review type stuff. If we had an incident on a call, he'd review it. Did some trainings for us, but this one's the new medical director we're looking at, she's going to be quite a bit more active in training and involved with the service. So it'd be worth $4,000, and it keeps the town's liability at a reasonable level because we're doing the trainings we need to do for the medical providers.
Is that person local?
Yeah, Biddeford.
She's taking over Leamington too?
She's picked up a bunch. So our previous medical director had 13 services in our area. So when this became mandated by Maine EMS, we interviewed a bunch, and they were not cheap. This guy, for the service he delivered, we got a good deal. And unfortunately, he passed away, and then we'll get the same service level. It's going to cost us a little more money.
So what do they do?
So first of all, it's unfunded mandate by the state, like a lot of other things, right? So we are required to do QA, QI. So we got to review our EMT is going to call. There's a certain number of their patient care reports that have to be QA'd. They have to read them, and they'll have like benchmarks of what they're looking for, sign-offs or overdoses or cardiac calls, that they'll pay attention to in different time periods. But so they review our calls. Depending on your medical director, they may do trainings every month. Some may do no trainings. They may just do the QA part. They're a resource. A couple times a year we have something goes wrong on a call, right? Not a mistake made, or someone may view a mistake was made, or they didn't like the quality of care or treatment. They may file a complaint. Like we get, a couple complaints a year. Everybody does, and we'll review it. If there's a question of a protocol breach or a treatment that wasn't appropriate, they didn't use the right protocol, whatever, we'll ship it to the medical director, and they'll they're not biased. They'll review, and and if it's disciplinary, we run that by them. We've done that. There's been people make mistakes, and if there's a mistake made, protocol deviation is a big deal, right? The state issues us protocols. We got to follow those protocols. If there's a deviation, it can be a big deal depending on, the procedure. We'll send that their way. They'll give us their recommendation for discipline or, giving them additional training or that type of thing. So they're a resource. They're a resource to our service, and the state requires it. Where are we at?
Concentra.
Okay, Concentra, that one I kept the same. We spent 1942. Concentra is a occupational medical group that evaluates our people for respiratory clearance, another NFPA and OSHA standard. And once a year, you got to go have a physical to wear an air mask. So kind of a built-in thing, another expense that's placed upon us. Hozak Tower, I talked about that. That's just the electricity bill to keep the tower running up there. If you notice, I projected out $535, so that's about $3,000 to the good. So again, I'm questioning the power bill backup and utilities, that maybe that one got merged into that one somehow, another accounting kind of situation. But I kept it at 1,600 until we will figure that one out as well. York County Tower fee, that's a built-in cost that we pay to the Southern Maine Tower Group. We have not paid that this year. That's just, for lack of a better term, our rental fee to use. There's a bunch of towers in York County. They're maintained. A bunch of towns are on them. We actually rent space on Hozak Tower. We bill Leamington Fire, York County Sheriffs, and the Southern Maine Tower Group itself. So we send out $2,000 bills, $1,500 bills for them to use our tower, but we also pay to use their towers. It's just part of the repeater system. It's $5,000, so it's something we have to have.
How much money do we get in now? Because for years, we didn't bill them, but
They weren't billed for years.
Now we're back billing.
I don't know, because I can't get a number, can't get an account number, and I can't get a number that's in that account.
Where does the money go, though?
It should be in its own account. It should be in its own account. There should be, by my math, about $9,000. That is to maintain the building up there, which is in desperate need of maintenance. The roof is junk, the wood's rotting. Every time I've asked, there's a lot of accounts that I ask about, and we're trying to work through. And part of something I'm working on with Jared is trying to, we have a list of accounts, and we don't always, it's hard to get the information sometimes. We have some grant accounts that an EMS grant account that we need to post against, and I haven't got that account number yet. I was given an account number. When we checked the expense sheet, it's a zero balance, so it's not the account. So we're working through that.
And the York County Tower hasn't been paid this year because?
I'm not sure. They haven't billed us, I'm guessing. So I'll have to reach out to them. They usually bill us, I think in the fall they normally bill us. York County, Southern Maine, something planning group, it's out of Biddeford. The whole system is managed by the Northborough town manager. He manages the whole system.
I'll have to call them before the next
Yep.
couple of weeks.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe they're giving us a free year.
No, I don't think so.
Grant writer, we started building that last year. We have not used it. It's just, there's only so many hours in a day, and we would like to go for federal grants. Hopefully, we'll put it in next year, and maybe Jared can go down that path, have more time to get there to get that done. There's all kinds of FEMA money for fire trucks, medical equipment, manpower. You can get, if someday Limerick is going to need full-time people. We're a growing community. I mean, Waterboro blew up, right, years ago. They have full-time people. Leamington has grown significantly. They have full-time people. Population here has increased by probably 300 or 400 since I've been here. So, at some point, they have safer grants to assist with that transition, but we're not there. Grant writer would be more for, we have a tanker that's going to need to be replaced. If we can get the federal government to pay for that or a portion of it. That's the air packs. We talked about the air packs. Those are going to have to be replaced. That would be a good use of it's a Fire Act grant. So I think it's good use of money, and if you get a grant, that money gets reimbursed. So if you hire somebody for $2,000, they get you a grant, you get your $2,000 back, so.
We have a separate article for grant writer for the town too, right?
I think if it's a grant writer, that's funded under this administrative, yes.
Right, so we still have access to that too.
Yep.
That was,
I think that was something new, I want to say that was something new recently, or we started funding more in it recently because of the revitalization.
right, no, but I'm saying, but we expanded it so that it could be for the fire too.
Yep. Yep.
Is that something that goes into a special reserve account, or does it roll back in at the end of the year?
I'd have to look at the account, but I don't know, Gail, maybe you know?
It used to be, and we're gonna request that it is a reserve, because it often goes over a year end. A couple years ago, they started putting it in.
Right.
Into their budget, but it was always for years in the reserve.
Okay.
Okay.
No, they pay John?
Yes.
We've used John for the,
Yeah, is he paid out of that, or?
yes,
Yes.
Not always. Once there was a project, like the water and sewer project, we would budget for his services because he was a grant writer, project manager.
Yep,
So part
okay.
of his fees went into the budget for the project, which was
Yep.
funded by the grants.
Yep, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay, information technology, all our computer stuff, software. We budgeted 500 last year, we're projecting 2,000, so I put 2,000. That's some of our computer stuff we use, like our I Am Responding, which is another phone app, notifies you of a call, you can click on the app, say you're going to the call, kind of thing. First due is so we're going to report to the government every year, the NFIRS reports, National Fire Reporting System. That's what we use, that's our platform. We enter our fire calls, medical calls in there for the incident report that's submitted to the federal government, but we also use First Due for our mapping, our notifications, our truck maintenance stuff, that's our maintenance records. Truck goes to the shop, gets an oil change, we generate a work order. When that work order is done, we put in the labor cost, the material cost, that's our records management. So we're going to replace a truck, we can pull up a record, hey, we spent, $40,000 in the last 3 years on this truck, time to replace it, kind of thing. So that's First Due, we use it quite a bit. Repair and maintenance,
Is that a yearly subscription fee?
Yep. Yeah, so First Due, what's that? Yeah, it went up a lot this year. So we are in a county bid, so First Due and I Am Responding, which are our two big notification softwares, IAR, but First Due is also a records management system. We get those through the county. They negotiate a price, get a bunch of towns in York County, and the Rod Hooper down there gets a group rate. So that one went up quite a bit. And it's what they do. When I first came here, we had like 3 different softwares for different things. We met with a bunch of companies, wanted an all-in-one service, because the company that we had merged some of them and their price like doubled. And we said, well, let's get rid of them. And we went to these guys. I want to say they were in the $3,600 range the first year. So now we're probably in year 3, and we're at 5,400, so we're probably, IR responding is the other one, people are phasing out of that because that's also gone up, so the $2,000 in line 1, it's not all IM responding, but that's a good chunk of it, so we may look to get rid of that one, just have one notification, so it's typical software thing, they get you in early, get you in cheap, and then they just keep, once you get comfortable with it, they just keep jacking the price up on you, and there's only so many options out there, so.
That's just our year.
No, that's the thing telling us time's up.
Yep. All right, so bottom
Alarm
line, I kept everything in. I'm projecting out at 216, we're budgeted 209. So we're, call it $7,000 over, based on all those numbers that were provided. I believe we're $11,000 under in personnel, so when you look at the public safety warrant as a whole, we've got about $4,000 to get through the year. If none of those, the power bill doesn't change or the telephone and cable doesn't change, those aren't reallocated to someplace where we get about $4,000 to get through this month, which is, we should be fine. We don't have any large anticipated. We're gonna get our diesel bill for November, we're gonna get our propane bill, those are probably the two biggest. Well, telephone and electric apparently are very high. So we're floating close as we've been since I've been here, but I think we should be fine.
So if we can, hopefully quickly, figure out the whole telephone cable issue, if it comes back, if Julie comes back and says, hey, you know what, it was misposted, whatever, and that goes back, way down to where it should
Yep.
be, are you adverse to that number changing to bring the overall back down?
No, I think the right thing to do is recalculate based on, once we know things accurate, yeah, I think we should, because I mean, we went up, you have the old one sitting there, I don't have it sitting in front of you, we're at 233 for next year, which is an 11% increase, I think I said, 10% increase.
Yeah.
What do you have on the old one? Because I didn't bring a copy of the last one.
I have, not my sheet. On the old one, 212,
212.
550.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking $21,000 we went up based on those projections. I tend to believe that there's going to be something, we're going to find something that's going to bring that down. It's going to keep us, below budget and knock that down significantly for next year.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you look at the overall, because it just paints a better, there's a lot of changes, new building being the biggest one, and our overall increase with personnel and operational budget is $46,540, so we're overall a 5% increase with the whole, so we'll be at $900,450 if both these budgets go through. That represents 5% overall. So I think, we wanted 3.5, and with a new building, I think we're reasonable. And that's with these numbers sitting in front of you. If we we resolve some of those things that, maybe we get back to that 3.5, and that's what we aim for. And I know we provide, a damn good service to the town. We have good people, good coverage, we do a good job. The fire department provides a good service for what the town people pay, and so if we can get back to that 3.5%, I think everybody should be satisfied.
How many people do we have presently is going to be EMTs?
That is going to be?
That are in training, right?
One currently. Last year, we had 2 people upgrade from basic EMT to advanced, and Cole, yeah, so 2 basics. Yeah. So right now, 1. We have 1 person starting firefighter 1 and 2 in January, and we have a person, he must be finishing up his EMT pretty soon.
Next week, I think, is his
Yeah.
graduation.
But we've had quite a few in the last couple of years. We've had, the last 3 years, We've added, I mean, you took it, Trevor took it.
ALS fire, basic EMT, and then fire one and two.
Yep.
In 3 years.
we keep adding, I mean, we keep grabbing people, and, you know, like, the perfect candidate is, we've had a couple of these, they move into town, we're growing a house start, you guys see the house starts, it's crazy. You know, somebody moves into town, hey, I want to get involved, and we've had several people, they've got their EMT, got their firefighter, or vice versa, and it's like, you know, and then with the grant money, it's not a huge investment in the town, and they're gonna be here, you know, they're gonna be in town, it's,
How about you and Jared? You've got one of
One other paramedic.
the paramedic?
paramedic, no, so me and Jared are paramedics. We have a paramedic on the call department that does not work per diem, but he runs a lot of calls in town, he likes, you know, when he came on board, he told me, he goes, you know, I do this for work, because he works full-time elsewhere, he said, but he said, it's also what I like to do. So he bought a house in town recently, in the last 2 years, doesn't want to work per diem, because he doesn't want to be sitting at the fire station, but they call for a paramedic, he comes from home quite a bit.
I'd say
Quite a
about
bit.
75, if he's not in Biddeford 75% of the time.
Yep.
He's coming to the call.
And then, so we have me and Jared, and then on the per diem side, people that do work per diem shifts, we have 3. Adam, and Ben, yep. We forget somebody? I feel like we're forgetting somebody. So, yeah, we have a handful. I mean,
And
it's,
then we have another handful of advanced.
yeah, we had 2 people upgrade to advanced, and we already had a handful of those in advanced now. So, man, you got basic EMT, advanced, and paramedic. Paramedic used to kind of be here with, you know, skills and procedures, and the EMTs were here, but the advanced, they brought them up quite a bit. They administer medications now. They can do 12 lead EKGs now. They can do CPAP, which is a facial mask breathing thing. I mean, they can do quite a bit. So advanced is, we have quite a few of those. That's that ALS part. We try to have 1 ALS on duty and 1 basic EMT, or at least firefighter. So we're doing well. We provide a good service. For a small town, I think
So they have
it's in good shape.
on duty every day?
Not every day.
90%.
Not every day. We try to have 1 ALS and 1 non-ALS. That's how we budget. We've had days we've had 2 paramedics on. It doesn't happen very often, but it's hit or miss. You never know. You know, Pete Proctor does the schedule. We could, you know, have 10 days in a month where we have 2 EMTs on duty and don't have ALS. Or we could have, on an average month, when I look at a schedule, call it 30 days, we probably, I would say 80%, and if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to embellish, but I'm guessing we're 80% we have ALS on duty, 80% of the time. We struggle on the weekends. We talked about some premium pay on the weekends to try to draw ALS, but again, we're trying to tighten the belt a little bit, so maybe next year we can get on that path, or Jared can get on that path, but we have ALS quite a bit. The goal is 100% of the time, but it's just not really an achievable goal in a per diem world. The per diem world is suffering. It's, you know, you had volunteer firefighters, strictly volunteer, and if people started getting paid on call, and your per diems. It's just, we're lucky to have the people we have. We have 35 people on our roster. We're very lucky to have what we have. We probably have 20 on the per diem roster. It's just cities that are along the coast, or that had per diems, they're phasing them out. They're going all full-time, because it
So
gets
where
challenging.
do we find out, like, how many calls and what type of calls you go out on? Is there like a log or a list or something that's available to?
So I do my monthly report here. I did it last Monday. Talk about how many calls we go, we're up like 600 and, actually, I have something here with it on there.
Last week?
We're at 618 calls for the year. So Monday night
Here.
at the select board, yeah.
Okay.
We've been doing around 650. I think we're going to be a tick higher this year. The first year I was here, we did 714, but we were going to Sockabee Valley area like 20 times a month, so it kind of skewed our numbers, but we've been hovering around 650. And this year, I think we're at 618, and we still have 3 weeks left of the year. We do
Is
about
that
50.
like you report that monthly?
Yeah, when I do my department report, I always give an update on fire calls, ambulance calls. But that's another thing that First Due does. I can, like the town report, when I do my town report in the town report, my section of it, I always put a pie chart, nice pretty colors, and tells you how many calls were on, what type of calls, but we have those records available. I can generate a report on that First Due software, and we generate them all the time for different,
Alicia
different
has
things.
The monthly one, what he gives.
Okay.
The total.
We still getting, a lot of calls up to, soccer games.
No, I think the other night when I reported, it was
Still too many.
7 or
it's not-
8.
it's not
And we were
bad.
doing upwards of 20 a month. They added a second ambulance during the day. I think it's up to 7 days a week now, which helped quite a bit. But we were going there. It was a lot. I know Mike McLean was the fire chief before me. They were dealing with it. Towns were dealing with. They had met, and it wasn't getting better. We contemplated charging them a fee, an impact fee, if you want to call it that. We go there, you're going to get billed for your medical call, but we're going to charge you $1,000 additional. And it kind of makes a point. If we go there 20 times a month in the town of Parsonsfield, or, Porter, or, Cornish, or whatever, it has to pay us $20,000, they're not going to be they're going to figure something else out.
They're not paying us anything now.
They're paying their ambulance bill. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, if we go there,
It's
we get
tough.
reimbursed.
it's tough because we call it mutual aid, right? It's not mutual. It's not, and you know what, Limerick was that town, 5 years ago. Waterboro was coming here constantly, right? Now yep, and it's detrimental to our people, because I look at this budget, right? We get $900,000. That's the people in town paying to have staffing, paying to maintain the trucks, heat the building, fix the building, all the stuff we talked about tonight. So our ambulance goes to Parsonsfield. Okay, so they pay a $1,000 bill. Well, that's for that call. That's for the medical treatment, the supplies, whatever it is. They're not paying for the infrastructure and the overhead our townspeople are paying for. They're not contributing to that. And the other part of it, when our ambulance is there, it's not here for our people. So, but it's not mutual. They don't come here very often, but it's way more reasonable than it was. And that's part of growth. They've got to, at some point they'll have to have 2 ambulances 24 hours a day, but for now I think they've done a good job. It's tough. They cover 4 towns, and it's a lot of area, and Portland hospitals are an hour, it's a 2.5 hour deal for 1 ambulance call. So that crew leaves town, they're gone 2.5 hours. So I get it. It's growing pains. Limerick was there. I talked to people before I came here, and people that work in Waterboro, and they told me, they said they'd hear Limerick's tone and they'd get up and get dressed because they knew they were coming. It was just, it's a growth thing. It's a growth.
Socrates only got 1 ambulance?
One 24 hours and one, I think 8 hours, is it 12 or 8 hours?
5.
They started out with like 5 days a week, 8 hours, and then they went to 12. I think they're at 7 days a week now.
4 times.
For 4 towns, yep. 8,000 people, I think it is.
Well, they've used Leamington a lot the last year.
Yeah, Leamington
After,
goes quite a bit.
Newfield
Yep.
goes.
Newfield covers part of Parsonsfield.
right.
Yeah, they get a bunch of challenges. Just geographically, they got challenges, and then those communities are growing, so. I consider it at a reasonable level. If we're going, I think it was 6 or 7, I said the other night, which, and one of those might have been Leamington or Newfield as well. It's not just Sotheby's area, so. They've done what they said they were gonna do. So it's a reasonable level.
All right.
All right. Anything else?
You make the motion.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Wow, what do you think you are,
Thank
me?
you, Vinnie.
Are you in
Thank
favor or
you.
not?
Thank you,
Thank you,
Vinnie.
Vinnie.
Thank you.
We get paid so much to be up here.
And I will dig, if I learn anything, I will share that and make the adjustments.